Hi everybody, welcome to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. My name is Lily and I'm here with our Sitka Black-tailed deer. Before I get started, I'm taking a look around. We're actually inside a habitat right now, so there's no one near me, including my friend who's taking this video. So I'm going to take off my mask in hopes that you all can hear and see a little bit better. So we're here today with our Sitka Black-tailed deer, and I brought a little bit of a treat for them. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up and see what we have. We've got some lettuce for these deer. Oh, not a big fan of salad maybe. And a few grapes, which is a bit of a sweet treat. So these are our Sitka Black-tailed deer, which are actually in the mule deer family. So if you live somewhere that mule deer also live, those are some of their closest relatives. On a larger scale than that, they're in the deer family. And a lot of the animals that we have in our care here are also in that deer family. So let's think of some other examples of deer. Their next door neighbor over here is one of them that you might be able to see in the background. Those are some elk. We also have caribou and reindeer and moose. And at AWCC, we actually have pretty much the full range of sizes of deer, from our moose, which are the largest deer found in Alaska, to our Sitka Black-tailed deer, which are the smallest deer found in Alaska. And they're pretty tiny, don't you think? They're actually the second smallest population of deer in all of North America. If you've ever seen a Florida Keys deer, they're a little bit smaller than these. But in either case, they're pretty tiny. So these deer live in the rainforest. Where we are, we're on the very northern edge of the Pacific Northwest rainforest, which is the same rainforest that these deer live in. Although their populations are found a little bit further southeast of where we are now. And so being pretty tiny in size is going to be pretty helpful for navigating through areas that have densely forested trees. Now, if you look even higher up than the family of deer, all deer are in a group called the ungulates. And ungulates are even-toed animals. So if you take a close look at their feet, you see that they've got hoofs that are divided into two toes. And so when they're walking on they're very, very tippy toes. And so they're basically the ballerinas of the animal world. They're walking on just that very last bone in their toes. And if you think about what a moosefoot looks like, or maybe another kind of deer that lives near you, that has hoofs that are split into an even number like these, that's the same grouping of animals, the ungulates. Ungulates, like these deer, are herbivores. So they just had a whole bunch of lettuce, and now I've got a sweet treat for them, some grapes. And in the wild, they would eat a pretty diverse diet of different types of vegetation, including leafy greens. In the summertime, anything leafy and green, they're going to be munching on. In the wintertime, those leafy greens are a little bit harder to find, so they might eat a few other things like woody plant stems and buds that have already started to form. Drop that one. And lichens, and maybe even some sedges that are frozen under the snow. In pursuit of that food, this species of deer will migrate up and down mountains. They'll be closer to the coast and then up higher, kind of following areas that have less snow. And so, as far as our herbivores go, there's kind of two different categories. We have our browsers and our grazers. Our browsers eat leafy greens that are up higher, like our willow, shrubs, and alders. And our grazers eat things that are down low, like our grasses and our sedges. But between the seasons, this species will kind of switch back and forth. When the leaves are green, they'll munch on those higher up on willows and alders. But then as those fade, they're eating the lichens and the sedges that grow really low. And so if you were going to be going on an adventure and hopefully see some Sitka black-tailed deer somewhere in Alaska, you might go to an area like Sitka, around Sitka, Alaska, further southeast than we are now. But they're even found all the way up into Prince William Sound, which is just separated by a few mountains in that direction. And so they have a pretty wide range that's currently kind of expanding further north as they are in pursuit of their foods. And so I finished up the snacks that I brought for them today. They're going to go back to eating some of their hays and grasses in here. In the back half, which you might be able to see in the background after you take a close look at that precious face, are some of our males. So the ones that I've been up here feeding are just our females. And you might have noticed that they don't have any antlers this time of the year. But these boys that you can see walking up do have antlers. And that's because this time of the year is the rut. And during the rut is usually when our deer have antlers. And in most species, it's just the males that grow antlers. And this guy's coming right up where you can see him. They are also have been working on growing a nice warm coat to keep them warm all winter long, because these animals are native to Alaska, and so they're found in very cold places year-round. And when they've got those winter coats, they are all just looking so wonderful. Now those antlers, they grow and shed every year. So in another month or two, those antlers on him are going to just fall right off. And then they'll start growing another pair for the next year. They start just as little nubs on the sides of their heads, and then as they're growing, they're covered in a thin, fuzzy skin called velvet. And then once they're fully grown like his are, that velvet sheds off and you're left with those bony white antlers that you might be used to seeing in pictures of a stoic deer. And then once those antlers fall off, he'll get ready to start growing a new pair. So if you compare that to an animal that has horns, those horns grow continuously throughout a life. So those, in most cases, aren't going to fall off of their head every year. There's a couple exceptions, of course. And what a beautiful day that it is in Alaska. I mentioned we're in the rainforest, which is hard to believe on a day such as this. But just this morning, we had our first bit of snow on the ground here. So right now it's kind of a brisk, breezy afternoon. Definitely cool enough to start wearing the beanies and gloves. And we're getting excited for winter and winter activities along with our deer. And so if you ever have a chance to come and visit us here at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, the Sitka deer are one of the animals that we include in our Walk on the Wild Side tour as an encounter sometimes. And so you too could have the opportunity to join me or someone from our naturalist team in here to meet these wonderful deer up close and personal. And so I hope that you've enjoyed this little taste of what it's like to work with our animals here at the Conservation Center, and getting to see our Sitka Black-tailed deer up close and personal. I hope you all are having a wonderful day where you are, and are also getting ready for a wonderful winter. Stay safe. Bye.